Foundation Course Kabbalah, Part 2, Lesson 38, Rabbi Michael-ben-Pesach, Portnaar. To understand the Kabbalah, the true Kabbalah, you have to put yourself in accordance with the eternal source. This also applies to the Zohar. You cannot understand the Kabbalah, the Zohar, with your earthly mind. It is impossible. A little similarity is enough, then you're going to learn, then you go ahead. Where are these lessons for? To align yourself, as soon as possible, with the eternity. That is the purpose of the lessons. This is only possible if I draw from the source of Ari. To him it is given. He has made the Kabbalah understandable. He's the only one to whom it is given. I live in Ari, and from Ari I want to teach. As long as we do not want to understand with our earthly mind is impossible, and also do not resist. If you do not understand something, do not ask questions. Not to me, but look in yourself. Desire. You must long for the Kabbalah, long for the eternal. As long as you just feel it, it grows, you'll get there. Everything is up to you. My job is to take all of you to your observations, your apprehensions, not only the feeling, but also the comprehending of the eternal. Comprehending of this life. When you get the true serenity and no nirvana, where you segregate yourself, you can then live anywhere. Even where noise is. Kabbalah, you stay in absolute serenity. Your external senses tingle, though of course music, etc., external irritations remain naturally. You are a human being, but it is the outer man who suffers from it. Inside, nothing changes. Kabbalah must be radiation for you. Even if that is in the distance, you have to desire, want, nothing else. You should know that this is the only thing I want, the radiation. I want to connect with that. It is not my wisdom. Someone who says that it is his wisdom has no wisdom. You must be willing to make yourself receptive to receive this higher wisdom, everything that is real. You can only experience it, but it's not yours. Everything that is good is not yours, absolutely not. We have nothing good in ourselves, you understand? Remember that very well. If you think you have something good in yourself, you have been sold. Your ego has whispered to you, has you in its power, has gotten you into its hands when you only briefly think you're good. You should also not feel broken because you're not good. You should not be apathetic, but it's very good if you feel you are not good with respect to the other person who feels good. All these laws of the universe that are eternal, the intention is that we comprehend the Creator. But of flesh and blood, one cannot comprehend the Creator. Why? There is no comprehension of what is eternity. On the one hand, and on the other hand, if man aligns himself with the laws of the universe, so that you purify yourself and make yourself receptive, and then it is not yours, you understand. Then the light comes. The light comes on you because He is merciful. You are merciful, and all your properties, then it is in similarity of properties. Then it gets to you. You receive. Is it any merit of yours? Actually, yes, because you have worked on yourself, but in principle it is a gift. It's always a gift, you understand. You can never be proud of it. It's not yours. It's not your wisdom. What we learn is no wisdom of man, remember that. And all attempts of man to understand the Creator. Of course, understand as the philosophers do, the Spinoza, Aristotle, they all tried to bring the eternal in their own head. Pretty logical system, etc. Also the theologians. No, it seems as if they achieve something, but they achieve nothing. They gain knowledge, but they do not reach the true reality. On the one hand, we say that the eternal, naturally, no thought can contain him. Absolutely not. On the one hand, that we know that it is so. All other ways that we think we are able to experience the eternal, absolutely not. Impossible. Only when we put ourselves in similarity to properties. He gives, we give. And what philosopher gives something? Only knowledge. They want to get knowledge by force. They invest in knowledge, but they try to contain with their own minds, and that does not work. On the other hand, we say that no thought can grasp him. On the other hand, we say if we put ourselves in similarity with him, then we can make a series of miracles. Like Moses. Eventually, he aligned himself fully with the Creator. He was the antithesis of the Pharaoh. He wanted only to have, and he came into absolute, the highest feasible to give. And he could then overcome the Pharaoh, that the people came out of slavery of their own ego, and that was hard. How do we see that? The Creator told Moses. Moses said first, "No, I do not go to the Pharaoh, which is much stronger than me. How can I compete against the ego? Absolutely impossible. Ego is billions of times bigger than me. What are my altruistic desires? So light, nothing. There's no power in it. How can I overcome that great bear or let it work for the good? Impossible." And that is why the Creator said to Moses, "I am with you." That means I, as the higher mind, go with you. If you just believe and trust in me, because I am above all, above that Pharaoh, and above all the others, then you can work wonders. You understand? The prophet Elijah, and his disciple, Elisha, they both had brought people to life, brought the dead to life. You can read in Scripture that there was a woman, Sunamatic woman, and she had her child dead, and the prophet took it in his arms, blew breath into the face of the child, and everything is spiritual, absolutely, but everything has to be done on an earthly way with all spiritual actions one performs. And the prophet brought the child to life. You understand? On the one hand, we say that it is absolutely impossible to comprehend the Creator, the laws of the universe, because no thoughts are limited. His thoughts, that of eternal, is limitless, and all what is limited is a fraction of what is not yet limited with us. All we know is only a fraction of what is still above our aura, which we have not been able to incorporate into ourselves. And when we bring ourselves in line, when we make ourselves transparent to the light in order to be in compliance, thereby naturally everyone is enabled to first save his own life, as it were, and also let it work out on others. But try nothing with your head, bringing the eternal insight. Very, very fine. What we need is always the intention, whenever we deal with the spiritual, that we do not try to get it into our heads to understand, but just to make ourselves available. As all the great prophets said, when the Creator said, for example, to the prophet Samuel, "Come," and he said, "Hineni, here I am." Also Joseph, his father Yaakov, told Joseph, "Go to your brothers, bring some food there, and ask how they're doing." He said to the father, "Here I am." He did not know why he said that, but indirectly he felt that if he went, he would be mistreated, sold to the Egyptians or the Midianites. He knew he had to make himself available, and that is surrender. Each time surrender to let you overcome over death that lives in you, the dead, all you desire of superfluous things that you long for. So not only strict necessary things, all excess things where you hang on to there is also your death. Those are dead wishes. Death is dead wishes. And that, of course, brings man to death. That leads man to death, and we must overcome. Do you feel like it? Well, then you're good here. Do you still have dominant desires, and you try to anyways? Of course you might. You must live. Try everything, not as a child already, learning and then not knowing what it is. Do all the other things, a woman, etc. Only study. But the desire is there. What is the trick? The trick is that you surely do something or get a taste. That you know that the taste is, you do not have to eat the whole bread to know how it tastes. You should know. There have been holy men who have drilled through the Torah and have not experienced with hands and feet. It is not absolutely necessary that you first sin and then go back. Not necessary. Without sin, without actively sinning, also gives very much. We sin not necessarily with hands and feet. We sin with our thoughts. Adulterous thoughts can cause us more harm than a relationship. Even if it is a relationship of a couple of minutes, the thought can sit in your head for hours and not the few minutes of something with your hands and feet. That is something you also need to know. Everything counts. Thoughts. We must purify everything. We have seen the 4 covenants the Creator has made with us. Thoughts, tongue, heart, and what is between our legs. Yesod. Everything counts too. That's what's been our legs. The world has always responded a little smiling. Always your outer man inspires tendencies in you. It's a whole art to overcome this. How to overcome this? We have no strength to overcome. Do we have strength to overcome it? No. You should ask for the strength from above. Contact. More and more you have to build contact and trust, and then something will come down. There are impure forces in the universe which also use power. Use our power from our holy sparks. That, step by step, we have to learn it. Especially for men, it is very special. Horrible things. It is a reason that it's harder for men. A man should pay attention very well. For example, wet dreams. What spiritual development can one experience when one hand he is engaged in spiritual development, on the other hand he does not pay attention to his foundation, on his lowest foundation. He loves the spiritual life, but a moment later, after service, for a little while, and the service separated, and afterwards they again walk among the women. Where is the logic? God we have had has been in the service. Now we are human again. But there is no separation. You should not separate those two things. You should know, because else it's a comedy. Someone sitting here does not do that. You understand. You must be aware of all the 4 places in which the Creator has made a contract, a covenant with man forever. No one escapes, not a Jewish law, no one escapes. So pay attention to all those 4 places. If you, that 4th place below, Yesod, not physically, not only physically, if you do not pay attention to how, then you can experience eternal life. How can you experience eternal life? If you deal with it, you're just like a child. If a grown man cannot control himself, he's like a child, and it starts with the eyes. Man goes to look at the other, and then comes the tongue. Gives compliments, then the heart, when you are sold. Nothing can be done. Everyone needs to know for himself. He must at that time, as with Joseph. Joseph, when he was in the service of the Pharaoh, and the wife tried to seduce him. She wanted him. Joseph was a handsome man, and the Talmud does not lie. Does not make a saint of Joseph. But Joseph was definitely a tzaddik. One does not lie about him. It was a Friday, a public holiday, and people were out, and Joseph had a date with the woman that he was going to lie with her. Spiritually, absolutely spiritually, but also physically. The Torah never speaks about earthly things. And Joseph got there, and of course, the Talmud says he had it in his mind that he would go with her to bed. And when he was next to her, and she was a beautiful lady, and at that moment he saw, as it were, through a mirror the face of his father Yaakov. And at that time he fell in the flesh. He fell in the flesh, he shared a bed with her. Not physically, but it is written that the sperm came from his nails. He did not do it, but in his head was surely that fantasy. It came out of his fingernails, and therefore this people had too. He did not do it physically, and because of this, this nation has had a huge merit, because he had not done it physically. But what's done is done. The Creator is righteous. The Creator cannot say it's my chosen people and then act a little bit corruptly with the people. All is the laws of the universe. They are incorruptible. He has not done it, but still this sin hung to the people. And if it is there, there must be reconciliation. Repentance. Handing in something, and not just say repentance. It was not sweetened until in Roman times, when there were the 10 greatest Jewish sages. The greatest of all time were there, and the Romans have them all 10. Exactly 10 for each finger. From each finger came, as it were, semen. Not as a sperm itself, but as a spiritual effect of it. It came out, because before the semen comes out, it comes from the brains through the spine downwards, until it all takes shape of seed. But because it was only spiritual, the sperm came only in the form of spiritual, from many degrees higher. That there is already a core, the core around the sperm cell, but still a sin, and Then it was sweetened by those 10 great rabbis, by executing them. It was horrible. Each in his own way, one burned and another one was slain in a different manner. All corresponds to the sin of Joseph. The higher one is spiritual. The higher is the reconciliation. And therefore, when someone says, I want to be Jewish, always it is discouraged to be Jewish because there are 7 rules that you should do as a non-Jew and 613 as a Jew. That is not insignificant. And you want to be a Jew, you know what responsibility then lies within you or with you. You will be addressed directly by the Creator for every minor offense. And the higher a person is spiritually, the stronger is also the amount of impure force around him. If you think your teacher is holy, the more I learn, the more learns the counterpart. You understand? It is not so that you will become a holy by sitting in such a position and all the people come to you and kiss your hands. That is childish. A real saint who climbs higher, spiritual, at the same time the impure forces get stronger, but you can control it. The forces that you already have called, they lay down the others a little bit, and not that you think, not for 100%. A little should remain, is all fine work. What I mean to say is so high that Joseph, but also in our time, that we in our time, one of the major sins we commit is with Yesod. It is now activated. Earlier it was not so. One did not get to sin. Sins with the head, with thoughts, with this or with her feelings, also that gradually dies off. But how can you, in God's name, below Yesod? That what we're talking about. How can you overcome it? It's really inhumane. There you have to ask, desire. You have to be very mindful that you tackle adulterous thoughts at the birth, already when they come into being. And that's the difference between a saint or someone who works on himself and others. The others just carry on playing until it's too late. You understand? And our job is to recognize it. And the whole day we have that. For the whole day roars that impure force, would like to get you. Why? It lives by our mistakes. It gets energy from our mistakes, from your mistakes. And with that feeds itself. And if you do not give food to the unclean power, a little bit only, we call that ner dekaik. A little light, and that is enough. It's like giving a bone to your dog. So you always need to do a little bit with the impure force, for we need that. The impure force we need. There are still many holy sparks of light, good sparks, altruistic sparks, and if we break it, what do? We have yet to do a little. Let's say just like a little candle. Give it a little light so that the other notices a little from it. We continue with the second part. I already worked something out. We'll continue until the Gmar Tikkun, so we will all know how this works. Soon we will start the real Kabbalah. Do not be afraid. Do not think, I do not know Hebrew. Why is the Creator biased that he wrote the instruction in Hebrew? Why not? Phillips makes his instruction also, for example, in Russian. Why? Because that are also his clients. People can say what about me? Why did he favor them? We see it with Joseph. How many generations have the Jews to go through misery to purify themselves? It's all building. It is not wrong. It's necessary. We do not know why the Creator has given it to the Jews. It was before the creation. It is so given. Are the Jews then better as a result? They must propagate, but also the language that he has given to the Jews. Now they make from the language comedy, writing about everything in Israel. The people have to live. They make erotic and everything. They write books like every other people. They also scold in Israel using the Hebrew words, swearing, as in Amsterdam, but the Hebrew itself from Torah, from what Moses wrote, is absolutely sacred language. It is not the language to speak. Jews have received it as Kabbalists have written it in the language of the code. The Jews have always spoken Aramaic in the past. Now no one knows what Aramaic is. Now it has become an elite language. But that's why we should also. Hear what I say. I'm not doing nationally, absolutely not. But the spiritual, eternal man can only learn from the language, from the code in which it is written. Do you understand? It is not translatable. If we look at those letters, and gradually you do not really have to learn a lot. But the language of Kabbalah is the language that we will learn. That is easy to learn. Step by step we can learn it. Just look at the letters, and the letters slowly are going to speak to you. You will really find the true spiritual within yourself. And don't ask yourself why you have to learn Hebrew. English is a business language. The Creator has given two languages. Hebrew for the spiritual, and for the earthly, physical, material, giving pleasure is the English. A beautiful language for this world, simple. And so, personally, I think the most beautiful language is Italian. It's music to me. If I were not a Jew, I would be Italian. I mean that the language is beautiful, but it is from the material. And look how they make clothes, shoes. There's something so fine, but only from our world. You cannot learn something spiritual in another language. Have faith. Trust what I say. Do not resist. I also learned Latin, but it is talking about the spiritual. Is also good, but not spiritual. If you want to learn the spiritual, you have to look at the letters. There you'll find the Creator. Not in the air, not during a service of anything, because it's comedy, earthly comedy, little feeling, little sensual, but when they come out of the service, then it's over. And this language, Hebrew, each letter will gradually come to speak to you, and you will experience the spiritual. Learn it in love. Hebrew has been given to the whole world. It is not a language only for Jews. It is given to the Jews, and therefore it is written in the Talmud that at the end of time, all peoples will learn Hebrew. At the end of time, we will be the spiritual. All the flesh shall see me, says the Creator. That is why this language, all nations will learn it. Not talking, but there will be a third temple, and all nations will be there too, keeping holidays. All the walls will be demolished, etc. There is the epicenter of the sacred. Each nation will get there, and in the same language will you say things. It is what it is. We now take a little break and then continue with the second part. Feeling is important. So we have put the emphasis on feeling all year to break it. That you not only want to break the spiritual with your head, if we look at the way of receiving the light, you also always have to. Feeling Hasidim embraces the light of Chokhmah. Chokhmah comes in, is finer, higher, and sleeve around it is a feeling. What I'm drawing, do not think, what is all this? But just watch. Refer to drawing 38.1. The first manifestation of two opposing forces in the universe. First comes the first reception, Galgalta, then something less, like the fountain principle, Ab. All I'm telling you now is learnable, is also in the introduction of the Kabbalah. Everything I have told you until now, for everything you can derive general principles for your work, for your progress, but not as strong as in the teachings of the Kabbalah. If we have the structure of the worlds, the structure of the universe, and its purpose clearly in mind, if only broadly, we can endure anything. We will progress much faster. It's like a construction project. First something is broken, big mess, but if you know what beautiful things come instead of that mess, you see that mess, but you know what's coming, then you will not be so much annoyed because you know what's coming. So it is with us. And then as we know well, which building is which is built for us forever. If we come to realize that, a little bit of understanding, then it helps. It helps us to progress faster, much faster progress than just talking about this or that loose stuff. Try in everything I tell you to focus first on the general things, general principles, and while you work on yourself in daily life, going to apply that, and you will become and you will come to its daily application. I always speak about general things. Of course, later we will come to corrections, finer corrections, principles. Everything has been given broadly, and later you can work on yourself. A Kabbalist can work on himself to 100th part of a sfera. So fine can a man work on himself, on the building blocks. 10 sferot. Everything consists of those 10 sferot. You can feel that sfera. Those properties of the radiation you can feel step by step. The third reception was sag. First was the largest reception of the light. Then the power was decreased. There was less reception, another kind. Smaller reception, initial reception, second reception, third reception, and then 2 more receptions that are less important to us, Ma and Bon, that you will all find in the manual. Just read that. Even if you don't understand, does not matter. Also, I've read it dozens of times. No feeling was there. It was theoretical, so distant. Gradually you'll experience it. Everything I tell you is in you. It is in you, absolutely. Try to read it even if you do not understand. It's up to you to increase your speed. Everything is up to you. It is difficult in the beginning. You understand nothing and still read. The truth is in there. You must piece it together, or you must pierce it. Read it as frequently and as much as possible, plus everything I give. Then you get there. What I tell are only the fine things that you need, and that is enough. We said Sag, which came down, first came the light of Galgalta, the light came to the Tabur, navel, to make a comparison with man. Then Ab is also light, Ab, which is also very fine, slightly less than Keter. Galgalta is Keter, and Ab is Chochmah. Quality of Chochmah, everything consists of those 5. Keter, Chochmah, Bina, Ze'ah, and Malchut. Ze'ah consists of 6, so together it is 10. Those 6 sfirot of Ze'ah are all the same level. Therefore, it is better to talk about 5. When we talk about fully, then 10. Everything consists of those 5, and the first is Galgalta, which equals Keter, and then Ab, which equals Chokhmah, and then Sag, which is Binah. We can say Sag and we can say Binah. When we say Sag, then we mean Binah, but we say something extra. Then we also have the number of the filling with it, the milui. Everything is qualitative in Kabbalah. We can call something from the light or from the kli, because everything that exists is light, or, and there is kli. That's recipient in many variations, and between them there exists a masach, screen. Everything in the world we can bring in the Kabbalah to those 3. Masach is a kind of a screen that is built up. Above there is the Creator. The whole system, coatings, with which the light Ein Sof, infinite light, as it were, coarsened himself. Not himself that he can not do, but puts another coat on top of it and dresses himself, because we have no power to see him face to face. We have been given an example of lampshades. The more shades we remove, the stronger the light gets. But first, all those lampshades are necessary. If we study that, that is what separates us, the lampshades. All those coatings, and in them naturally is light throughout it. These coatings or dressings and clothings are coarsenings of the light, and naturally there is light. These coarsenings are rougher than the light itself, and that is why we say that roughening is kli, is a receiver. And the light which comes in is finer than that. That's all we do. It is nothing else. Suppose we climb or understand that, then we remove a lamp cap, a shade, and then we gradually come. The kli all go. Nothing disappears in the spiritual. We go higher and higher and higher. And that is why it is called the spiritual ladder. And a Kabbalist means, I'm here and I have removed a lampshade, means comprehension. I'm going to comprehend, and because of my comprehension, I see the cap's no longer there as a boundary. And then I go to another, to the next. I see more. I have the power to see a stronger light. Gradually, I've gone up in my development, and that means I have become like the Creator. We said we can absolutely not the Creator understand Him. No mind can contain the Creator. On the other side, I put myself in similarity with Him because these worlds are made as light in there. And then I'm just like the Creator. That means I've come through all those coarsenings. Not in euphoria, where I put down all of those coarsenings and just sing, "We are the champions." But I have to pierce myself that I understand. And why are these sacred books we are going to read in September, and you'll see what is all about. What is holy? Everyone talks about all sorts of holy things, but we only speak about from the Keter comes the holy. Fine things unimaginable that we will then experience. And I will explain a little bit, and not as an omniscient narrator. That is not my position, absolutely not. It is simply necessary until we really start in September with the Kabbalah. This year has been an introduction year, just to let you taste. It's not yet Kabbalah in the pure sense. It's Kabbalah, but Bina, which has light Hasidim, we said. Hasidim means light, which is giving as a mother gives. Here, under the Tabur, the light was not allowed to come. Why? Because they have no power to Chokhmah, light of wisdom. It is such a light that can damage, even not damaging, but the others have no power to receive it. And if the light would come down there, they would sit in the dark, and that makes no sense. The intention is that the course of development, 6,000 stages of development, that all the light comes down. On that is said, all flesh shall see the light. That is our task, to finish the job for every man. Does not matter who. So the Bina comes down because of the task of Bina. We have said the quality of Bina. Keter is always giving, has everything in potential, and then gives to Chokhmah. Chokhmah is light. Chokhmah is not Kli yet. From the middle of Bina, Kli begins to form. Chokhmah is a small coarsening of the light. Keter and Chokhmah is just as light, and then slowly comes Bina. And the quality of Bina is she will not receive. She just wants to give light to the lower ones, Zeir Anpin and Malchut. We will more and more talk about this. The whole idea is that there comes similarity between her and those two. That means the world Ze'ah and Malchut, that in the course of development they rise, just as we have said here with the stair. For these two, Keter, Chokhmah, and Bina, which always stay in eternal confluence, and Ze'ah and Malchut, not. Sometimes they do, and sometimes not. Just like us. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we do not. It's obviously been because of the sin, the first sin of Adam, but also to not let us remain naive, not as robots, where we were made good and we remain good. Good guys. We remain good guys. No. The Creator has made us in such a way that, look, that's what we call good. That's all well above the tabur. And here it is a little good. Sometimes not. And not that we just be good. Because with what would we distinguish ourselves from the light of the Creator? We must first be absolutely opposite to the light to be individual, absolutely in which we have nothing to do with the Creator. He is light and we are absolute darkness. Without it, you cannot learn Kabbalah. First, you must come to the absolute darkness where you feel that it's a good development. Not seeking darkness, of course, but you feel nothing. You have no contact with it. And if you preserve afterwards, and that means you come to the absolute disappointment, that means you can see light for yourself, as it were, in the offing, and you cannot reach it. You feel that you are totally unlike him. This is a wonderful moment, but everybody flees from it. We should welcome it. Then the moment is there that you're ready. You're ready that you are not a kid anymore, that there was already something on you that you may draw higher. You feel somewhat lower. When I'm in the synagogue, I feel that I'm the lowest of the lowest. Everyone is proud. Everyone feels himself as perfect. You understand? They do not feel the discord that I feel. They feel religion, believe in religion. He's perfect. He does all the things properly. But we need to see those two, and therefore here under the tabur comes no light. The bina, the intention is that there surely comes light. So first here comes the light of bina, which is light hasidim, because it comes from above the tabur. It's surely stronger light, huge light. And then she tries to give her children ze'ai malchut, light, as it were. It does not have to be light chokhmah, but light hasidim. Everything that exists, everything what has been, the law is always the law. You cannot violate the law. Here the law was that under the tabur no light may come. And there came keter, chokhmah, bina, ze'ah, and malchut of the kind, bina. Because every sphira also has in itself those five. And we said, Keter and Chokhmah are holders of the light Chokhmah. If you do some corrections later, still light come down. But Ze'ai and Malchut, because of origin, they come from under the tabur. It is not allowed to let light come there. Therefore, from below comes Malchut. The Malchut which ascends and says, until here and no further. Do not try to understand, everything will be fine. We have said there are two forces. Two holy forces are available in the world. Hasidim, grace, and the other is Gvorot, severity. And now we can see for the first manifestation of those two forces. Of course, they were above, but were not yet visible. The intention is that all, also the man, everything was already included in the plan. Just like in a seed is everything, the whole man is already included in the seed. But it was not manifested yet. How can you see at the seed if it will be a villain or a saint? With DNA, they investigate it. They might say that it will be a rapist or not. But that's all fantasy. Of course it is fantasy. If you learn Kabbalah, you will see exactly what is possible in science and what's not. Therefore, Nobel Prize winners must always have a chat with a Kabbalist who does not need to know chemistry, DNA, etc. But a Kabbalist can see whether it makes sense to work on a particular problem, for it is written that at the birth of a man, in his package. What's his package? Seed is already a physical form of his essence, which is in the DNA. In his package at birth is already established if that man will be rich or poor, intelligent or not, many things, but whether he will be a culprit or a saint, a tzaddik, or something else, not that. You understand? Whether a person is rich or poor, even if someone is stupid or smart, because stupid and smart are just earthly characteristics. Hear what I say. It's very special. If someone becomes sacred, or if someone can take in himself the spiritual, the godly, the eternal, or can bring himself in similarity therewith or not, that is not included in that program. So someone may be stupid, unintelligent, and another is very intelligent, but that does not mean that he has precedence or a head start, or the opposite. Be at the disadvantage for becoming a saint or a villain. So no one can say. Often tell those criminals, my mom, I have not had a mom where she was a bitch, or my father was. Okay. Of course, the conditions make the man, but it is not in it is not in his program. A human can be working on himself, change everything. You understand? That's what sacred means. Look in history. Sacred means, look in history, was Rachav, a prostitute. In the first city that the Jews have taken on their way to the promised land of Israel, her house was at the gates of the city wall. She has two spies housed one night, and she had to spy, and she saved them. This single act has her an ordinary prostitute. The Torah writes about it straightforward, not a saint of our world. She was overcome, done the deed, and from her is one of the greatest prophets, Jeremiah. He came of her, from her. He comes from Rachav. And the Creator makes other calculations than humans. Man makes calculations of what is his background. Does he come from a good family? Do they learn Torah? Or are they decent people? That is the calculation of man in our world. The Creator makes absolutely other calculations. So if someone is here, for example, he has been through a lot of things. The law is that Hashem, the Creator, assesses the person at the moment as he is now, always. If you live well now, you will be at this point, as it were, sacred to the eyes of the Creator, and conversely, the justness of the tzaddik, of the righteous, shall not deliver him in time of distress, meaning that if someone lives righteous for 20 years or many years, learns Torah, lives as a holy man, and then suddenly falls down, it does not help him. The 20 years training he did as a saint, because the Creator, if he does wrong at that time, of course someone does something wrong even when he studied for 20 years, but he brings that sin not completely downwards. He recognizes that sin still in his mind, as it is still in his mind. You understand? Of course everyone sins. There is no man in the world who does not commit sin. But it means that with someone in his head come adulterous thoughts, for example, and he had brought strength at the source to overcome it, then of course a piece of sin will still be in him. Therefore, when we walk, you should never think, I'm so strong. I can walk here through the red light district in Amsterdam. Nothing can harm me. I keep myself busy with Kabbalah, which you should definitely not do, because when you walk there, your eyes are surely human. And you walk and suddenly you see with your eyes such a beautiful bosom. How can you? Who can endure from inside not to be attracted? Which righteous? Nobody. You should know a little peace comes to you. But that does not matter. We talked about those windows from left and right. It comes at you, but if you do that in time, it does not matter. Then you give a little bit to your impure force. You should surely give it something. It's like that bone to your dog. So you should always give a little bit to the unclean power, because you must let it remain alive and not destroy it. It should always be fun, even because also that little apparent sin still brings a little spice to your life. Not the sin itself, but the power that must come down, even if you have that not already. You will soon see it. Also with us, light may not come in our Malchut. In Malchut, the Malchut, in the 10th Sifra, may not enter the light. But of course, always little drops come in here. Always come droplets. The light comes through all the 10 Sfirot, and that comes down to the Malchut. And then it becomes reflected. Reflected means reflect. All the light that enters must first bounce before you calculate whether you can get in or not, whether you're resistant to receive this pleasure in a pure way. Receiving in a pure way, meaning that it does not destroy, that it does not destroy my kelim, my sense organs. That's why I always have a huge pity for a man who wins the lottery. Then he's absolutely lost. Everything what has been built is going down the tubes. One goes there to this and that, all great misery. He always ends up badly. No man is perpetuated for this. Always reflect. A little bit gleam comes here, and yet a few drops gradually from the light comes in. Though it may not, but it will come. And gradually it is all accumulated within those 6,000 years. We are continuously moving up higher and higher, but always Malchut, always those reflections, and forever all those drops remain there until we finally, as we express in Russian, from the droplets, you can also get drunk, if there are a lot of them. If you fill your glass with drops of vodka, you get drunk anyway. Thus, here too. After all the corrections that we do, it seems as if we've done or we do nothing. What have I done today? But all these droplets come, and from those droplets gradually, it will be a great portion whereby you're going up. What have we now had here? For the first time, we see manifestation of these two forces, Keter and Chochmah, above. The manifestation of what we call Chasidim and the power of Gurot, right mercy and left severity. Why is it in man both sides? Here at Keter, it is still manifestation. Above Chasidim and below is already Gurot. What have we achieved? With what? With that. First, it was the light that may come to the Tabur, light Chochmah, and now the light can already come down a little lower, because the more we get the lights down, then the purpose of creation is that finally all the light that is meant for us in creation plan in order to receive it, but to receive in a pure way, and not that we receive for ourselves. All you get for yourself has no movement, is dead, has absolutely no movement or progress. Everything you do for yourself, and therefore the sexual act, according to the Torah, so the laws of the universe, husband and wife should fulfill it only with the thought and with all the devotion that they thus fulfill the requirement to come into similarity with the higher, to multiply himself, to reproduce and multiply. Multiplication means having more than one child. Only with those thoughts can a human being do that. Does a man do it with another thought? You will receive for yourself, and that means death. If a man does it for himself, and anyone does so, if he does this act and thinks, then I have children which will take care of me when I'm old, or I'm going to enjoy them, no. He must have children to teach them also in the way of the Creator. You must have children to give them the opportunity to do corrections. We are made in the context of eternity. If we do not see that, it is just means our short-sightedness, nothing else. So if someone has sex because he likes it, or whatever need, then go do something else. Work out or jog. Then right away that need, that impulse is gone. So you should see it otherwise. It is so is the plan of the Creator. It is not religion. It is not religious, so it works. It is not medieval or Jewish. You must know yourself. We live in this time, and in this time everything is possible. There is nothing worse for your spiritual development than this freedom. But on the other hand, you also have to think about what you're doing. You should not think without freedom, because then you have other problems, other woes. You should always consider what you do. Your mind must always be that you bring yourself in line with the higher. Always bring yourself in line with the higher. If you do, just for fun, or if you have a need, every need we can change. A man cannot make a replacement of it, but can become the boss over his needs. Of course, the same desires stay with each man to the last gasp. But what you do with it is something else. You have to use it. You should not say, Schluss, nothing helps. Always come those droplets of light downward. Always come droplets from top to bottom. Under the Tabur is the beginning of the two forces, Chasidim and Gurot. The forces of Malchut, severity. There are two forces that the Creator created, mercy and severity. Bina is only the Chasidim, mercy, and therefore the Bina, the power of the mother through the light down. But below, the lowest Ze'ah, Zeir Anpin, and Malchut, they need the power, severity. Because the world is created so. Bina does not need it. Like a mother, she does not need it. A woman does not need that. A nice woman, for instance, may be married to a criminal, and she remains good, human. He is a mass murderer or anything, but she does not have to do the same, because she has the feminine in herself. And for example, her children are in prison, and she continues to love them, whatever they do. Why? That's the power of Hasidim, and she does not even experience the other power, the Gurot. Therefore, a woman needs a man to share these two faces together, or two forces together. It does not always have to be, it doesn't have to be so, but it is written. It is not good for a human to be alone. It does not say that it is obligatory to marry. Nowhere it says that this is mandatory. In the Torah it is not written. It is not obliged to marry. But for a man it is obligation to make children, to bring children into the world. And this is not obligation just for a woman. What I mean with that is not, you have earthly desires. You can do with it what you want. Your ideas, bound by time, tell you otherwise. But what I'm talking about, that's what the laws are. The eternal laws. You may have other ideas, other tendencies. By nature, the woman is not obliged to marry or to have children. There's no obligation for the woman, but it is for the man. If a woman makes a child, she must always know, based on the laws of the universe, that she must always make a child for her husband and not for herself. And what do we often see? That she takes a seed from somewhere and does it for herself. That is exactly the same. It does not matter where the seed comes from. It remains his, from the natural father and not of her. Even if she thinks artificially that it is from her, it is not an obligation of the woman to give birth to a child, to bring it into the world. What I'm saying is the law of the universe. We will all learn the laws of the universe. We will not fall down in the chain of time-bound ideas. For example, we will understand that a higher can never do harm to a lower one. A higher one wants to always toil to help a smaller one. It follows that a woman, of course it is a problem if she is 13 years, has been to a party and got pregnant. Those are border cases, but it is natural that a woman should not kill a child. And that has nothing to do with religion. Abortion means that a higher lets a lower one perish. And that is against the laws of the universe, absolutely. What they will all consider and adopt in the parliament, they are taking more and more laws. Taboos are lifted. They say that everything a human being wants, that's good. 25 years ago in the Netherlands, once I felt bad and called my doctor and he said, take a drink. Do you have a problem with take a drink? That also is right. In our world, everything is good, but according to the laws of the universe, it is inconceivable that a higher can do any harm to a lower one. And if a man thinks with his mind, what is that? I cannot make love and I cannot do this and that. What is that? How can it from the higher? We see it. From higher can never come the bad. The law is that of the higher can only come good. We just have not been able to cope. We are still from man's birth. Later, man is born. Next time, I only speak on this subject. Please refer to drawing 38.2 in the written materials, where it lists out Keter, Chochma, Bina, Zerampin, Malchut, and our world, and describes it in more detail. And that's it.